A mother rushes her disabled daughter to the hospital, terrified she might die from a mysterious illness. Then doctors deliver a nightmare no parent is prepared for. The girl is pregnant. She can't walk. She can't speak clearly. She can't even defend herself. Someone abused her right inside the home that was supposed to keep her safe. While police begin asking questions, the mother goes back to the house searching for answers. And that's when she sees something on a laptop that makes her blood run cold. Whoever hurt her daughter didn't come from outside. They were already inside the house. And what's on that screen is about to expose everything. Don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters. Like the video if you believe these stories deserve to be told. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next case. Your support keeps this channel alive and helps bring hidden truths into the light. Marissa Cole had grown up learning one brutal lesson long before she ever became a mother. Life did not care how hard you tried. She was born in Fresno, California, the second of 4 children in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment that always smelled faintly of cooking oil and worn carpet. Her father worked construction in the blistering Central Valley heat, coming home each night with cracked hands and a back that never seemed to stop aching. Her mother cleaned offices after hours, scrubbing other people's desks while her own family barely scraped by. Marissa watched her parents exhaust themselves just to survive, and she promised herself she would someday build a different life. One where she didn't have to count pennies before buying groceries. By 16, she was already working part-time at a grocery store, helping pay for electricity and school supplies for her younger siblings. Teachers noticed her intelligence, but college felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. Still, she dreamed. At 18, she met Lucas Cole, a charming, talkative mechanic's apprentice who made her laugh in a way no one else ever had. He talked about opening his own auto shop one day, about having a family, about a future that didn't feel so small. Marissa believed him. They married young, hopeful and broke, but in love. And when she became pregnant just 2 years later, Lucas painted the nursery himself, hanging tiny stars on the walls and telling everyone he was going to be the best father in the world. But everything changed the day their daughter was born. Little Ariana arrived on a rainy spring morning. Beautiful, fragile, and already fighting. Within hours, doctors delivered news that would permanently reshape Marissa's life. Ariana had cerebral palsy. She would struggle to walk. She might never speak clearly. She would need lifelong care. Lucas didn't say much at first, but over the weeks that followed, his excitement faded into quiet frustration, then emotional distance, then anger. He hadn't signed up for this. By the time Ariana turned 2, Marissa came home from work to find a note on the kitchen counter and Lucas's clothes gone from the closet. "I can't do this," the note said. And just like that, he vanished. From that moment on, Marissa was alone. She worked double shifts, fought insurance companies, learned physical therapy techniques, carried her daughter when her legs failed her, slept in short, broken hours beside Ariana's hospital bed. Every decision she made revolved around one question. What does my daughter need? Ariana grew into a gentle, bright-eyed little girl who loved music and cartoons. Though her body struggled, her mind was sharp. She understood everything happening around her, even when she couldn't say it. Marissa poured every ounce of her energy into protecting her. She had no idea that years later, the person she would trust most to help them would become the greatest danger Ariana would ever face. By 2012, Marissa Cole was exhausted in ways sleep could never fix. More than a decade of single motherhood had carved deep lines into her face. She had moved with Ariana to Mesa, Arizona, chasing a better job and better medical care, but life was still a nonstop cycle of work, therapy appointments, bills, and worry. That was when she met Ethan Brooks. It happened at a small church fundraiser, the kind with folding tables, baked goods, and lukewarm coffee. Ethan was quiet, almost invisible at first. He was in his early 40s, divorced, with neatly trimmed hair and a soft-spoken voice that made him seem harmless. He worked in IT for a regional insurance company, a man who fixed computers, a man who stayed behind the scenes, and most importantly, a man who didn't flinch when he met Ariana. While others shifted awkwardly around Marissa's wheelchair-bound daughter, Ethan knelt down, spoke gently to her, and asked about the music she was listening to. Ariana smiled. That alone was enough to make Marissa notice him. Ethan didn't push for dates or grand gestures. He simply showed up, helped carry groceries, fixed broken door hinges, brought over DVDs Ariana liked, sat beside her during dinner without ever acting uncomfortable. For a woman who had spent years watching men disappear when things got difficult, Ethan's steady presence felt like a miracle. 6 months later, they were inseparable. What Marissa didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Ethan Brooks had a past no one had bothered to look up. He had grown up in northern Nevada, the only child of a cold, distant father and a mother who died when he was 12. He drifted through foster homes and eventually joined the military, never seeing combat, but learning discipline, routine, and control. His first marriage had ended quietly years earlier. What Marissa didn't know was that his ex-wife had once filed a restraining order against him, then mysteriously withdrew it. Those records were buried. Ethan married Marissa in a small ceremony in 2014. Ariana sat in the front row in her wheelchair, white ribbons tied to the handles, watching her mother glow for the first time in years. At first, life seemed to get better. Ethan took over the household finances. Bills were paid on time. Groceries were stocked. For the first time in her adult life, Marissa didn't feel like she was drowning. He also took an interest in Ariana. He drove her to therapy, learned how to adjust her braces, lifted her when she was tired, sat with her for hours. Everyone thought he was a saint. But little by little, things began to change. Ethan started insisting on giving Ariana her baths. He said Marissa was tired, that she deserved a break. He began spending more time at home, working remotely, always on his laptop. The bedroom door Ariana slept behind was left open every night. Safety, Ethan said. And Ariana began to change. She flinched at touch. She stopped smiling. She began whispering broken phrases Marissa couldn't understand. Daddy, no. Marissa thought it meant bedtime, or vegetables, or frustration. She had no idea her daughter was trying to warn her. It started with a fever. Ariana had always been fragile, so when she began running a temperature in late October, Marissa didn't panic. She gave her fluids, wrapped her in blankets, stayed up all night beside her bed. But the fever didn't break. Instead, Ariana began vomiting, violently, over and over. Her body shook as if something inside her was trying to escape. Ethan hovered in the doorway, calm in a way that felt strange. She probably caught something at therapy, he said. Kids like her get sick easily. By the third day, Ariana was too weak to hold her head up. Marissa rushed her to Banner Desert Medical Center in Mesa, tears streaming down her face as she signed the intake forms. Doctors ran blood tests, x-rays, ultrasounds. Marissa sat alone in the sterile waiting room, staring at the wall while Ethan paced the hallway. Then a young nurse came out and quietly asked Marissa to follow her. Inside a small exam room, a doctor closed the door behind them and spoke gently, the way doctors do when they're about to shatter someone's world. Mrs. Cole, your daughter is pregnant. The words made no sense. Marissa laughed, then stopped. Ariana couldn't walk, could barely speak, could not consent, could not protect herself. This is impossible, Marissa whispered. The doctor shook his head. She's approximately 14 weeks along. Marissa felt the room tilt. Someone had been inside her home, inside her family, inside her child. Hospital staff immediately called Child Protective Services. Police were notified. Ariana was transferred to a private room under observation. Ethan wasn't allowed back inside. He waited in the parking lot, texting Marissa over and over. Where are you? What's going on? Why won't you answer me? Marissa didn't respond. When she finally drove home hours later to grab clothes and Ariana's medical supplies, the house felt different, colder, quieter. Ethan's laptop sat open on the dining table. She had never looked through it before. But now, something told her she had to. She sat down, moved the mouse. A folder popped open. What she saw inside would haunt her for the rest of her life. Marissa's hands trembled as she stared at Ethan's laptop screen. Dozens of folders lined the desktop, each labeled with dates and strange numbers. Her heart pounded as she clicked the first one. Inside were videos. Not movies. Not work files. Videos of her home. Of Ariana's bedroom. Of Ariana's wheelchair beside the bed. Of Ethan's shadow moving across the floor. Marissa's breath caught in her throat. Another folder. Photos, taken from inside the house, at night, when Ariana was sleeping. And then the worst one of all. A file labeled simply, Progress. She clicked it. The screen filled with images that left no doubt what had happened. They showed Ariana in vulnerable moments, confused and frightened, moments no one should ever witness, let alone record. Marissa collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Her husband, the man she trusted, the man she let into her child's life. It was him. Every video had timestamps. Every file was stored neatly. This wasn't an accident. It was a routine. Marissa grabbed her phone and called 911 with shaking fingers. Police arrived within minutes. They seized the laptop, the cameras hidden in the bedroom, and Ethan's phone, which contained more evidence than anyone could have imagined. Ethan was arrested later that night in a motel across town. He didn't fight, didn't deny it. In court, prosecutors revealed that Ethan had been abusing Ariana for nearly a year. He had drugged her with medication meant to make her drowsy. He had recorded everything. The pregnancy had happened because of that. The jury didn't hesitate. Ethan Brooks was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Ariana was placed under long-term medical and psychological care. Marissa sold the house, moved away, started over in another state where no one knew their names. But the scars never faded. Some crimes don't end when the courtroom doors close. They echo forever. If this story shook you, it should have. Because crimes like this don't happen in dark alleys. They happen inside homes that look normal from the outside. Ariana's voice was almost taken from her forever, and there are countless victims just like her who never get justice. So if you believe these stories deserve to be told, if you believe silence protects criminals, hit the like button, subscribe to Final Destination Bloodlines, and share this video so more people understand how easily evil hides in plain sight. Every view helps keep these victims from being forgotten. And remember, sometimes the most dangerous monster is the one sitting at your own dinner table.